Paris, standing today as one of the world's most visited cities, is known for its museums, fashion houses, universities, and a metropolitan area of more than 12 million people. It is a global center of culture, diplomacy, art, commerce, and tourism. Millions walk its boulevards each year, admiring landmarks that have come to define European identity. But how did this city become what it is today? How did the crowded, smoke-filled neighborhoods of the 1700s transform into the modern capital we recognize now? Today, advanced AI technology allows us to recreate long-lost streets and restore faded engravings into vivid, photorealistic scenes. With these tools, we can step into the Paris our ancestors once knew. We begin at the administrative heart of Old Paris, Hôtel de Ville. By the early 1700s, this grand municipal building stood as the stage for the city's civic and political life. Its Renaissance facade, restored and expanded over centuries, reflected the ambitions of a capital that governed not only itself but influenced Europe. Inside, the city council deliberated on taxation, grain supply, sanitation, and policing. The square in front of Hôtel de Ville was often filled with street vendors, newspaper sellers, and crowds gathering for announcements. But it was also a place of public punishment and executions. By the late 18th century, this building symbolized both the strength and the rigid hierarchies of the Ancien Régime. Today, the Hôtel de Ville still houses Paris's city administration, though the structure was rebuilt after being destroyed by fire in 1871. From here, we follow the Seine eastward to Hôtel Dieu, the city's oldest hospital. Founded in the Middle Ages but heavily rebuilt in the 1700s, Hôtel Dieu served tens of thousands of patients annually. Overcrowding was common. Some wards contained more than 4 patients to a single bed. Doctors worked by daylight, filtering through small windows, and nurses carried water from the river only steps away. Treatments were basic, and disease spread quickly through its narrow corridors. Yet Hôtel Dieu remained the primary medical refuge for Paris's poor. Its survival into the modern era reflects the long, continuous history of public health in the city. The present building, constructed in the 19th century, stands near the same site, linking the past with today's modern medical system. A short walk from the Hôtel de Ville brings us to the imposing facade of Notre Dame Cathedral, rising above the Ile de la Cité, with the authority of a structure that had already stood for centuries by the 1700s. Construction began in 1163 under the reign of Louis VII and continued until around 1345, giving Paris one of Europe's most ambitious Gothic buildings. By the 18th century, Notre Dame had long served as the city's spiritual center, hosting major ceremonies and shaping the rhythm of public life. Through the 1700s, the cathedral bore the marks of a structure that had survived fires, political unrest, and repeated cycles of restoration. Its bells marked every major moment: royal births, funerals, military victories, and public emergencies. Yet despite its symbolic importance, Enlightenment thinkers often dismissed Gothic architecture as outdated, leading to reduced funding and visible neglect. Parts of the exterior eroded under centuries of weather. Sculptures lost detail, soot darkened the stone, and several chapels were used as storage rather than worship spaces. Notre Dame has also stood at the intersection of key moments in French history. In 1572, it hosted the marriage of Henry of Navarre and Marguerite de Valois on the eve of the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre. During the French Revolution, many of its religious symbols were removed or damaged, and the cathedral was briefly converted into the Temple of Reason. In 1804, Napoleon Bonaparte chose this building for his imperial coronation, restoring its political significance and renewing public attention. More than a century later, the cathedral experienced one of the most devastating events in its history. On April 15, 2019, a fire broke out beneath the roof, spreading rapidly through the wooden framework known as La Forêt, some of which had stood since the Middle Ages. The spire collapsed. Flames consumed large sections of the roof, and smoke filled the Paris sky for hours. Firefighters managed to save the main structure, the bell towers, and many cultural treasures. But the damage was severe, prompting a global restoration effort that continues today. When we step inside Notre Dame now, whether in person or through reconstruction, we enter a building that has survived revolutions, coronations, structural decay, war, and fire. It remains one of the most essential symbols of the city's identity, carrying the memory of destruction, renewal, and resilience across more than 8 centuries. Our journey continues along the left bank, where the intellectual life of Paris thrived. At the center of this world stood La Sorbonne, the historic university. By the early 1700s, it was one of Europe's foremost centers of theology and philosophy. Students and scholars gathered in its lecture halls to debate religion, law, and science. The surrounding streets were filled with bookbinders, printers, and cafes where ideas of reform and revolution began to circulate. The Sorbonne's courtyard was a quiet refuge from the city's noise, but inside the classrooms, arguments over education and political authority shaped the minds that would challenge the monarchy. The building was renovated in the 19th century, yet its original form still influences the layout of the Latin Quarter today. Not far from the university was another major landmark, Panthéon de Paris. Originally commissioned by King Louis XV as a church dedicated to Saint Geneviève, construction began in 1758. Its neoclassical dome dominated the skyline, visible for miles. But history redirected the building's purpose. During the French Revolution, the Pantheon was transformed into a mausoleum for national heroes. It became a symbol of the state's new ideals: public virtue, sacrifice, and civic duty. Crowds gathered on its steps to witness ceremonies honoring writers, scientists, and revolutionaries. The building's shifting function mirrored the turbulent identity of France itself. Today, the Pantheon remains one of Paris's most celebrated landmarks, holding the remains of Voltaire, Rousseau, Marie Curie, and others. If you enjoyed this historical journey, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like the video. You can mention the cities you'd like us to bring to life with AI technology in the comments section. See you soon.